Well, the numbers are in, and this new version of The Color Purple, the movie, is a hit. There's no question about it. From the opening day.
I know my sister somewhere in the world. Someday we're gonna meet again.
Keep your head held high, just like Mom taught us.
This time I'll be free from you and then turn to creation.
I'd die before I let that happen.
Good. That's just the going away present I've been needing.
So many powerful performances there, and it's something that elicits all kinds of reactions. You laugh, you cry, some people calling out to God. So what is it about this new adaptation of The Color Purple that has people experiencing this whole range of emotions? We were talking about it here in the office, and that's why we wanted to talk about it more.
Dr. R.J. Allen Wilson is here, and Chad Lassiter next to you, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, share some of their thoughts. Did you tell us that your mom saw it?
I took my mom and my wife on Christmas Day.
And?
My mom enjoyed it, my wife enjoyed it, and it was just a family outing. And my mom actually adorned all purple prior to the movie.
Heck yeah, she did. She looks great right there.
Wow. That is Marilyn Adele Lassiter, my beautiful mother.
Now, the book has been around a long time.
A long time.
The original movie with Whoopi and Oprah has been around for a long time. What is eliciting this new fervor?
You know, I think people want to feel good, but they also can't escape the history, right? The history is traumatic for many Black people, and this movie really, the adaptation and even the old movie is about liberation. It's about freedom. The words at the end, I'm still here. No matter how much we endure, we still are resilient. And that's the message that many people take away. So when you think about people crying or, you know, coming out and saying, yelling or saying hallelujah, it's really about surviving and then hopefully moving to a place of thriving.
Because the audiences in the theaters have been really vocal as they watch it, because this is a movie you want to feel good, but it's got a lot of trauma, a lot of hurt, a lot of flat-out abuse and horrible things that happen to people, but still they're here and still they survive and still they rise and all of those things. Why do you think it's so relatable with all of this hurt in this movie?
Well, I think people can relate to it because people struggle. We all have struggles, right? And we think about this idea of hurt people, but then what is the redemption? How do we move to a place of forgiveness? And how do we rise up, specifically these Black women supporting each other and figuring out how to use that voice? And using your voice, it can cost you something. So it shows that there are women who then, you know, silence themselves, that cost them something, and then when they raised up, like Sophia, and used her voice, it cost her family. And so everybody can relate to this.
I think it's also the time we're living in now, too. There's just so much hate and divisiveness going back and forth.
Yeah, I think for me, the film was jarring on multiple levels. In 1985, I was 13 years old. So looked at it with my mom, my dad. I didn't fundamentally understand some of the emerging themes around self-empowerment, around trauma, around retribution, around redemption, factors of hope, healing, and things of that nature. But subsequent years in looking at it, I've gone back and forth because it's not either or, it's both and. So the challenges around how the men were perceived against the backdrop of also how the women were abused. Seeing it this time around through the adaptation and through the lens of the art form of singing with a new breed of actors and actresses, it just really resonated with me, right? To see Fantasia in that role, to see, you know, Taraji P. Henson in that role, but to also relive that. And I would just simply say, and both Dr. Allen and I would reach consensus on this, is that people need to be mindful of making sure that it doesn't trigger them against the backdrop of the crisis of legitimacy that we're in, the decadence that we're in, but also it is a good film movie, right? Sitting there with my wife, sitting there with my mom, sitting there with people in the theater at AMC in the Chamonix, it just resonated because the singing resonated with me, right?
She's so great.
Yeah,
she did the Broadway version, Fantasia.
Exactly.
So this is the musical version in this adaptation. I think a lot of people didn't see it, to your point, the original one, of course, because it was so many years ago, so it's a new audience. We want to shout out some of our Philly folks that are in it. We've got 3 people from the University of the Arts that were all in this film. So shout out to Anthony Burrell, Keenan Washington, and Jameek, because we had some of of our viewers pointing that out. And also a very big actor of this time right now, Coleman Domingo, had one of the title roles. Temple, shout out Owls. He's also a star in Ruskin as well. So, you know, you may want to see this one and put this on your list over the holiday times. It can be a great family
Definitely a
thing.
must-see film, and seeing it with the family members really resonates. And I think that it's something that we should be, viewing, and it's also something that we should be unpackaging as it relates to male dominance, as it relates to toxic masculinity. And once again, it's not castigating males, but during that period of time, there was a lot of abuse, and a lot of us, we understand that abuse. And as therapists, trying to help people heal, trying to help people make sure that they realize that there is infinite hope against the backdrop of so much finite disappointment.
Probably talking about it every day in your practice.
Every single day, and you got to work on the healing, and people got to work on themselves. It's trauma, we know this, but at the end of the day, if you're doing the work, then you can move to a place of healing. And Oprah said something about she wanted this to be people to be healed. I don't think people are going to be healed by watching this movie, but I do think that people can have these conversations, the courageous conversations, and work on the healing, and that's the goal.
With that message of hope.
Yeah,
Thank you both.
yeah.
We really appreciate
Awesome.
it. There's already so many of the, Academy Award nominations that we've seen for this for different parts. So we'll see if it, rises.
And
also.
just really quickly, last time, Spielberg and others, there were 10 nominations and they didn't receive anything.
No, that's right.
So, and people were really lamenting about how white the Oscars were then. So let's hope that there's a paradigm shift this time around.
Yeah.
And that some
Combination of
awards are taken
musical
home.
and movie.
Yeah.
Everybody didn't like that, but
I know. I saw some reviews.
Yeah, yeah.
The dancing's too much and all that. But see what you think. Go see it.
go see it.
Come right back.